Is this fine the way it is?
Yeah, that's good. Look, you have a guitar. Yeah, let's jam.
Yeah, that's right.
That's cool. So you guys are sitting around relearning Pavement songs right now? Is that what's happening?
I was.
Sick.
Yeah. I was trying to relearn Spit on Stranger, how to do that guitar line. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. How many? I mean, I never learned it in the past, but it's like I'm really trying to learn it this time, and it's like you go and you do like 5 different things on one little line. I'm like, there's no tabs for it either. So
what?
I'm like,
how's there no tabs? That's some bullshit.
There's no tabs for that one.
Yeah, that's the overdubs, you know.
I know.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for you, Scott, but I know you can do it. I can run through it with you. There's more songs too that you have to work on.
Yeah, we go.
I've been going through this album that we're not talking about today, Bright in the Corners. I do it on YouTube, and I just go with the songs that the algorithm plays next.
Matador, revisionist history, yeah. Matador, revisionist history, yeah. All rights reserved. All rights reversed. It's nothing personal. It's just business. Matador, revisionist history, yeah. Matador, revisionist history, yeah.
Slanted and Enchanted, the rock album by Pavement, turns 30 years old this month. Matador Records is repressing Slanted and Enchanted on limited colored vinyl, as well as putting out the new massive Terror Twilight Farewell horizontal 4LP box set, the Spit on a Stranger EP on vinyl for the first time, and much more to come this year. But today, I, Matt Sweeney, am joined by Stephen Malkmus and Scott Kannberg, a.k.a. Spiral Stairs, to look back on Slanted and Enchanted 30 years later. This was exciting for me, as that record made a big impact on me 30 years ago, and continues to kind of blow my mind. So, let's dig in, shall we?
Slanted and
Let's
Enchanted,
get
that's
into
what we're talking about. That's right.
All right.
Oh, okay.
I am here with Scott and Steve from Pavement, and we get to talk about Slanted and Enchanted. And I will have you guys know that I've never read the Pavement book, and
Me neither.
I haven't either.
and I don't think I've ever read an interview with any of you guys. So good. Okay, so if I'm asking stuff that's been asked before, let's just keep him. Let's just imagine that there's somebody who doesn't know nothing about Pavement but who likes rock music and they're listening. I'm trying to sort of keep it. I'm trying to keep that. That's the idea. Cool.
That's a good record to start.
I mean, I'd fucking say so. I would like to say congratulations, because in my opinion, because I've been listening to it for the last couple of days, it really is like one of the fucking great rock records, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it really, really is. It holds up like a motherfucker. And not only does it hold up, but it just sort of exists on its own terms, which I think is the coolest thing that a record could do. But I guess I could start by saying, when I put it on, my girlfriend, who works at Supreme, which is a skate shop that caters to young people, she's like, oh yeah, this is at least once a week listen in the shop, and it's like it's a go-to record, and everybody always loves it. And she just said all the shit where I was like, okay, these guys are going to be psyched to hear that somehow this record is some sort of relevant thing, and continues to be. And
it sounds young, that's for sure. Like I could see that, or there's something about it. My friend
yeah, go ahead.
My friend just went to see. I just think it's interesting what things connect with kids that are done by old guys. Because my friend just went to see, or my drummer Jake went to see Deerhoof. That band, and they're like old, but their fans were young too. What
Interesting.
bands? There's like young people there. I don't know why these certain things connect that way. I was like, maybe it's like Fugazi does too. Probably did or something. You know, there's something timeless about it, and some indie thing about it that's youthful. I don't love that term, but it all those groups sort of have that outside of the mainstream feel that is young people like.
Scott, do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, when I listen to it, I don't think I've listened to it at all until, maybe last month for the first time in a really, really long time.
Right.
But I guess, like Steve said, it probably resonates with the younger kids because it's kind of like they're kind of, maybe it sounds simple to them. Maybe it sounds like, there's like tunes there and there's like melodies there that is kind of like, but there's something simple about it. And I don't know, kind of like when I went back and listened to it, I'm like, wow, these songs, I've played them so many times,
mm-hmm.
but like I never really, hearing them with a fresh ears now, like so many years later, it's like, there's those tunes are there, and it's kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, you get
That's
to hear
cool.
it like like Gary Young heard it originally, probably, Scott. Like our drummer was this old, relatively old to us hippie dude, and he was like didn't understand. He would not understand why people liked the music that we made necessarily once it caught on. But he had said something similar to Scott. He's like, yeah, but there's Malkmus has got this pop thing going on too. I don't know how he does it, but he's pretty great. Like it sort of took him a while to admit that when he saw people coming to the shows.
But by the time that you came on Slanted, was he kind of getting it more on board with understanding that it was connecting and or was it still
not really?
Okay, that was
because I didn't really do pop songs. Maybe there was an EP before that called Perfect Sound Forever that was closer to Slanted and Enchanted. Maybe then he was,
right.
So yeah, but before that I thought he just knew it was just like a sort of piss take, and like, even though that's album Slanted and Enchanted became synonymous with this lo-fi thing that didn't really exist yet, except for like maybe Sebadoh, which we didn't really know about them, but we knew that they were lo-fi, but I didn't listen to them.
Right.
Even in our minds, it was not lo-fi. That was like a big pop record. That's like how weird we were.
Right, except for that now, and this is funny. Well, I mean, what's fun about this record is I really don't need to bring up other records that are like it. I was about to say that, stuff like God of My Voices is just considered classic rock now, but it's the same with this. Like JR is like, yeah, she's like, it's definitely a classic rock album, but it doesn't sound like old guys. But just the fact that and JR, by the way, Scott is my girlfriend, who's like, she was like in her mid 30s, but she works at, for like a young men's clothing company. So she's surrounded by, kind of like 17 to 25-year-old kids who are all like kind of aggressive skateboarder, stylish guys, just to give a context of what I'm talking about, how this music lands in the store that she works in. They're not
gonna like REM or something, probably.
No. Yeah. Most shit. It's interesting what doesn't land and what does, but getting back to the thing, Scott, that you said about it being simple. That I had a similar thought, because again, I hadn't listened to it in a while, but it's a record, it's a record that I know I really, really fucking like, and I listened to the shit out of when it came out, and like I feel like I know every second of the record. But going back to it, what struck me was it lands because of how kind of poppy a lot of the songs are. They land in the simple way, but they're not fucking simple at all.
They're the melodies inside the
exactly.
Basic thing is simple, but like the melodies, and it's probably the tuning Steve's using, and some of those guitar lines he's making up, or really like, I think that makes it really, really different, and, it's otherwise it would just be kind of like, Pixies or
I mean,
dinosaur record.
It doesn't sound, and I mean, I think we'll get around. I know we're going to get around to that, but it's just it exists on its own terms, and it doesn't sound like Pixies. It doesn't sound like Dinosaur. It doesn't sound like any of the touchstones of what was going on at the time. But I can still remember when I heard it for the first time, and it lands immediately. And I think that does have something to do with these like surprisingly, I don't know, like subtle, really subtle, like you're getting away with a lot of proggy, clever moves without ever sounding arch or musician-y or anything like that. And that really came back around when I listen to it now, like, just like, what's the song that just starts with the chords? Bing, 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 bling, bling.
Yeah. In the Mouth of the Desert.
Yeah, and it's like those chords are so fucking cool. And I remember at the time, I was like, oh, well, they just kind of got it where they're fucking around and it's all just landing right. It's all just landing right. I kind of thought of it as a sort of like magical confluence of things, which there's a certain element of that. But it's like, no, these are like really fucking cool, smart chords, and like, then I thought it was just kind of almost like happy accidents, and one thing that's super clear listening to it now is like there is like, it seems to me like a shit ton of work that was put into these songs. But is that true? Was there?
Well, not really necessarily. Like that song, I went to Earth Day, and it was like one of the early Earth Days, like 1990 in Central Park. And this guy, Jim Coleman from Cop Shoot Cop, gave me some mescaline, and I took, after work, I worked at the Whitney, and I took it, and it was like really fun to be at Earth Day. This early like environmentalism group activism thing. And then I walked back to Hoboken. Basically, I took the train, but I walked all the way back to Jersey City, and that's when I heard that. So I was like playing that song with my teeth. I was just like, and I was like, that sort of sounds like the Pixies or something real basic, just those 4 chords I hadn't played it yet on the guitar. So then I got home and I was like, that's like a song, So that was one of the very few songs I made up without playing guitar.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the song's called In the Mouth of the Desert, and it was taken from a painting at the Whitney, which was like by this street artist named Kenny Scharf, who was like less famous than Keith Haring. And there was a painting of one of his like creatures, and then behind it was like some Grand Canyon behind in the mouth of it. So I don't know, but the first guitar figure, I was trying to make something kind of angular and not like so catchy as the first part. And I don't know how it built into the start of the song, but somehow it did.
Like an oil well when it's underground, out of sight.
How, like, Scott, where were you, and Steve, where were you when in the time period that Slanted and Enchanted got made?
Oh, I think
were
your parents still living there? I don't know. Were your parents still living in Stockton?
Were you in Arizona or Sacramento? I don't know.
No, I was in Sacramento, I think, or Sacramento or Stockton. Anyway, I think we just got to
Christmas. I did it. I was living in New York, working
Christmas.
at that Whitney, like hanging out at Maxwell's, like being scared to go to Pier Platters and intimidated to buy a record.
I know exactly. Having grown up in New Jersey, I know exactly what you're talking about because that was the record store that I'd go to. And I remember asking if they had some Billy Bragg record, and Bill Ryan was like, "We're not really into that." And I was like, "Oh God!" I was like, "Oh."
I know. It was basically like Sonic Youth headquarters. You know, I remember they had first $100 you could buy a single with Thurston Moore's Hair. And
oh God, I forgot about that. And then I first heard Pavement from Tanya
Tanya worked there. Tanya was our friend.
Pure Platters.
She filled us in. She made it so that we weren't afraid of everybody there. We eventually met the people there, but initially that's what it was. We were just kind of suburban strivers that would go to Maxwell's and go to CBGB's, and Brooklyn was like too scary or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And that's where I was writing the songs. I was hanging out with the Silver Jews, David, and I was trying to come up with the tunes, knowing in my mind I was going to go to Gary's studio in Stockton in the Christmas time and maybe lay some stuff down. So
and it's post college, right?
Yeah.
Pavement's playing shows, right?
We had maybe gone one tour, right, Scott?
I think we did two short tour.
Philly Record Exchange. We played in front of there. We played at Pyramid.
We did this tour with Rob. That first one, that was like 5. Gary cut his leg on, couldn't play, and then I think we did the next one with Mark and Bob.
That was before Slanted Enchanted.
I'm trying to think when did I see you at Maxwell's? Yeah. You played a show at Maxwell's, and definitely people knew what was up with Pavement, but it was still early days.
Might have been the second one was Mark if Mark was in the group. Mark was a big supporter. Mark Eibold, he was in the Dust Devils, and one of the biggest validations was Mark's Dust Devils friends, Michael and Jackie. They liked Pavement because it was pretty intimidating to these bands like Julia Fritz's
Pussy Galore.
Yeah, well, them, and then she had a new band after that with all these
STP, right?
Yeah. And like Helmet, Surgery, Cops, all these people turned out to be nice, but like from the outside, I mean, maybe they were nice because we were good or we became someone vouched for us, but it was, it's like being a New Jersey guy, you probably felt that.
Dude! I mean, yeah. My silence is completely agreeing. I mean, it's total agreement. It's like, and it's neat that these are all the same points. These are all the same stress points that I had, like the Maxwell stress point. Like the CBGB stress point, the Pure Platter stress point, the bands. And then finding out that Sean from Surgery is actually a really nice guy. Oh my God! And finding out that Jim Thurwell. They were scary as shit. And then finding out that Julie Capers was actually just pretty much every bit as cool as you imagine, but she was still nice. Like,
I know.
She would just relentlessly make fun of me. And one time we actually jammed, she's like, wow, I don't know how you do it. Everything you play sounds like shit. It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It was she who was like, I hate bass.
We didn't have bass. Part of the reason was Pussy Galore. Well, part of the reason was we didn't play bass, but we were like, that works.
Right.
And, we sort of happened upon this bass amp that was a solid state. I don't know. Was it in Gary's studio or was it yours, Scott? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Gary's. Casino. Yeah,
it was a little like
Casino.
2 feet tall bass amp, solid state, and we played the guitar through that. So the Slanted Enchanted sound to move to that is
right,
like this bass guitar through a bass amp playing the bass chords, and then like totally scratchy Stratocaster like on the right side, left and right, or but we centered it. That's
is good. But is the guitar detuned? Like I'm thinking of the low line on Summer Bay.
Yeah.
Is that tuned down?
Scott plays bass on
just
that.
A D.
And that's a bass, or is that
down to D? Well, bass.
I tuned it down to D, E to D. Yeah.
But you're playing on a 6-string guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He went
sick.
to drop D. I don't think he ever did the CG thing, but he did the drop D.
So and I want to keep on. I want to just move back before we get into that. Just like this context of like, okay, so you're done with college. You have this band. You want to keep doing this band, even though Scott doesn't live in New York, and it's not even really a band, right? Like, or it's like a recording project more. And
Getting some fanzine heat though, like, you know, Gerard Cosley said he liked it, and you know, we made our first single ourselves, and then Drag City did the next two, and they were scheduled to do Slanted and Enchanted too.
And what did you know? What was the context for you personally with Drag City? Like, they were the label that did what?
Royal Trucks. And
right.
they
Okay.
were nice. Scott talked more to them about
we were supposed to be the first single,
right? Scott?
Yeah, because
we were supposed to be the first single, but then I don't think we got Demolition Plot done on time. So I think Royal Trucks was the first single.
Wow.
But we were supposed to be the first single.
That's so funny. I for some reason I don't know why I always think of Royal Trucks as always being slightly like the older, you know, the elders, you know what I mean? Like I think of you as children of Royal Trucks, even though it's all the same time somehow. I guess that's just because of
that first
the attitude
record they made was also really great. Their self-recorded one with like Andersonville on it, and they were a little bit of a presence around New York, but not seen, just sort of known to be like out of control. They were playing like at the CBGB's record canteen and stuff, but I didn't see any of those shows. I would just hear about it.
Yeah, there was a big mystique, like Twin Infinitives. I remember Jim Spring being like, all I could listen to is Twin Infinitives. And I was like at a party in the East Village. And I was like, what's Twin Infinitives? It's like Royal Trucks. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is that? You know, like, but it was
a later one. That's when they moved to San Francisco. I was a pretty big fan. I know everything about them at the time. We were really into them. And Dan was an interesting guy. Scott talked more to Dan. I think they were like planning stuff more than I was. I mean, we had some offers from like Circuit Records that I think Surgery was on. This guy, it was like a 7-inch label called Circuit from New York.
I remember Circuit. Yeah.
What else was there, Scott? Not much. Maybe Homestead talked about it. The guy that was doing.
Who was the guy? There was a guy in England. There's a guy in England who really wanted us.
I wonder who was the English guy.
Not Abbo.
Right, I know what you mean.
Not Abbo, but it wasn't
before Southern
him.
Records, but it was somebody else. The Wedding Present had covered one of our songs.
John something, yeah.
That got us a notice too.
So the feeling around making Slanted and Enchanted is like you really wanted to be in a part of this thing, and that Royal Trucks were gods, and you wanted to be in this mix.
I was gonna write some real songs by my mind, like catchy ones, like the songs where I also liked, you know, like Camper Van Beethoven and Velvet Underground. Like the first records, I was just afraid to do like what I thought was nerdy a little bit. So it was all like Perubu and but we obviously mixed it pretty heavily with the fall.
Right.
Right. I decided to go full on with the fall, in a certain way. I think I really was into Dragnet, that album at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a while to get, even in college, I liked the fall. Everyone, I liked their hits, what I consider their hits, which are like Leave the Capital, but I wasn't really, I was sort of like not the fall fan at my school, although they were ultimate band that you had to like. You know, I don't know what it was about the late 80s and hipsters. You had to like
they were essential. And then Scott and Steve, what was your and Steve's shared musical relationship, and what were you guys, you know, striving for / arguing about musically?
I don't know. I mean, I think I just
listens and say that's good, that's bad.
yeah.
He likes pop.
Yeah.
He likes pop, which is good.
Yeah. I always liked, like I would always, Steve would have a song, something that'd be like, I don't like about that, and it'd be the greatest pop song, and
yeah, he'd be like, go for it. But I need that
Come
help.
on, man, let's
good.
get it.
So
Summer Babe, I remember playing it for him in Gary's living room. I was just like, these are just 2 chords. I don't know, this is nothing. And he's like, this is cool. We're doing that one. So that's not, that's important.
Yeah. Okay. So the relationship was like, Steve, you're bouncing ideas off of Scott, and Scott saying yeah, your nay, and vibing, and because you and Scott have like the same shit. Is that like why are you trusting?
Yeah, we
pretty
like
much.
I mean, he likes the Stranglers more and Echo and the Bunnymen, and I like Echo and the Bunnymen. I mean, I had a big Echo Bunnymen thing, but Scott was the Bunnyman guy. But he turned me on to stuff like the Replacements he knew about before me. Even REM, I was like, he knew about The Alarm before me.
Oh, so wait, is this high?
Oh, no.
We must be talking high school, right?
College times. I was more a punk. I think I was a little more of a punk guy, mixed with like the Doors and Creedence and Velvets. But then he knew more about the Smiths and the Cure and things that I did like before, because he worked at a record store. Would you say that's true?
Okay?
But he knew more about like British music. I think he got me like more on. He would have known about the Fall before me, maybe too. I don't know.
And that's
not really though. I mean, you're like
college
the
stuff.
Fall kind of came a little bit later when you went to UVA and came back.
Right.
You came back with a lot of like the Flying Nun stuff I never would have heard.
Yeah.
Or the Fall, or even Can.
Krautrock,
I wouldn't have.
yeah.
It would have taken me a while to hear Krautrock.
So
which I think
that's
are all
UVA. That's UVA damage.
pillars
that
of
stuff is,
Slanted for sure.
Right.
Like Dino, we both like Dinosaur. I mean, that You're Living All Over Me. That's everyone has to go through that album.
I know it's funny. I feel like I mean that's the one. I definitely date myself by sort of claiming that record as like this towering thing, and it's funny like. Jumping back to like younger people, they're like, oh, they made another. Like they like the stuff that's a little after that, which is crazy,
right?
Or not crazy, but
My Bloody Valentine was a big one around then too. Like those records with the kind of like, Sonic Youth kind of guitar poppy version of Sonic Youth
also
guitar.
Big influence.
But
and then.
Well,
I had to quit school.
You quit
go on tour.
So you quit school to go on tour with Sonic Youth?
Yeah, Steve called me and said, "All right, I think it's time for you to quit school. Sonic Youth wants us. You're never going to graduate, so why don't you just like."
Like, you're into all these bands, but you don't sound like any of them, like it doesn't sound Sonic Youthy, and it's certainly, you're not relying on like big gobs of like mind melting distortion. There was something. It was funny. Right before, like 15 minutes before this conversation, Brooks Headley from Superiority Burger / Born Against. I don't know if you guys know Born Against, but they were like a very vicious hardcore band. And I told him what I was about to do, and he's like, "Oh my God, that record!" He's like, there's something about that record. He's like, "That's the one with the old guy playing drums, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "There's just something." He's like, in Born Against, the Adam, the songwriter of Born Against, was like super into that record. We'd listen to it every day. And there were guys in the band that didn't like it, but he was like, "No, this is it." And he's like, "There's something about the sound of when that guy plays drums, where it's like giant, it's sort of like this giant kind of robot that's like moving. It's so funny, like again, like how this guy, you know, there really is something so striking about Slanted and Enchanted. I just saw the first housefly of the year, by the way. Sorry, because
I've seen a couple already.
Oh man,
the first woodpecker's better. I just saw that.
Oh, nice, very nice. Oh, what were we gonna say about Gary? Because I gotta ask.
Gary's drumming, like, I mean, I think for us, we just kind of, you know, we played the songs, and hearing Gary's take on the song just elevated it to, like, you know, it was like, you know, it's just like we just had smiles, you know, like he would play so many drum beats, but it just sounded, it wasn't like, you know, a guy playing two bass drums kind of thing, you know, like that. It was more like he'd fit in all these like notes, just kind of fit with it. I mean, it was rare that, you know, and when we played live, you know, it was rare that he'd nail that, but on the times he did, they were great.
When we were doing the basic takes, quite often I would, on half the songs Scott would do, we'd all do together, and half of them I'd do just with him, and it would be like stay on the rides, or hi-hat, go to the ride, and then like go crazy, you know, or like I would say like do your thing. But in the middle of that, there was a lot of little things that I wouldn't have. In between those rides and getting to the ride to the hi-hat, obviously he did whatever he fucking wanted. And so that was cool. So he was just playing, you know, to two-string guitar. You know, I mean, there was just three of us, and half the time that he just heard an hour before. He would just hear it before, and then I would sometimes sing vocals, but a lot of it was like, coming to the chorus now, and then right. You wouldn't even know what was going to go on top of it, and maybe I didn't either, but that keeps it sort of chaotic. And him with he had a mix of classic rock, being a Yes fan, and also and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but also he had been through just playing the only gig in town, you know, for the last 20 years, which was like cover bands and punk rock. So, because he was weird and drunk, he wasn't going to get a real job. So he played everything in a certain way. He had been in a pretend punk band called The Fall Christianity, right? Isn't that right?
The Fall of Christianity. Yeah, they played our high school ski dance.
And he was in a false metal band called Death's Ugly Head. So he had been in lots of just bands that fuck with the teenagers, you know what I mean? Like, or play wherever with the other, in Stockton where we're from, the lifers there's like 12 of them. We're doing cool shit, and he was sort of the drummer.
When did you get it? When did you get in your mind that you had to be in a band with him?
He just had the studio. That was total luck. He didn't play. Okay. We just went there because it was cheap, and I was playing drums, and Scott was playing drums on the first single. I was just like, we're just gonna bash on things. And then he was like, I've got a drum kit, I'll play. He played on one song on the first single, and then he played not on the second one. I can't even remember if he did, but then he played. Yeah, he was just the engineer. It's the cheapest studio in town, and only one that you could go to. So that was pretty lucky.
I mean, that kind of explains. I mean, I guess that's why that record in particular sort of has the thing, because it's like there's so much lightning in a bottle stuff going on. Yeah. It seems to me, we did
it really quick. We did it like I think we did it in like 2 or 3 days, right?
No shit, really?
Mixed it.
Maybe.
I think we mixed it.
I think there was
like
2
within
sessions.
a week.
I think there were 2 sessions of 2 or 3 days, and then the mixing.
It's a pretty astonishingly sure-footed, and I remember the first time that I heard it, I was like, "Whoa, this dude opens up the line with Ice Babe," which I'm assuming was talking about Vanilla Ice, right?
Yes.
And it was such a, I mean, it was such a huge moment where it's like he just reference Vanilla Ice, but then just made it actually feel like it means something that that he's not making fun of Vanilla Ice, and like that happens right away. And then the next thing is like, oh, he's not rapping, but there's this real like confident lyrical flow that like it all hits really, really quickly and all at once. And it's probably why a lot of people say swagger is maybe even just the first fucking 30 seconds of that song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so did you, I was curious, was any of that stuff running through your head? Like, I'm going to fucking own Vanilla Ice or like what?
I think mainly I wasn't thinking too much about it, but like we had gotten popular reviews and I didn't listen too closely to what I was doing back then. I wasn't too self-conscious. And just those three guys in the room, I didn't really think anyone was. I don't really listen to lyrics very closely, so.
Oh, really?
That would be something that I was just like, is anyone really listening to this? So like, I take a little of that, and then like Marky Smith being also taking influence from sort of cocky people to almost being a heel, like Lou Reed or him or Alex Chilton, sort of just being a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I guess that's how we got the ironic thing, but it's like nothing ventured, nothing gained. So
right.
Like, all right.
No. Well, I agree.
All combination of all that.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because there is another thing that I'd never done is like look up the lyrics to that record. Even though it's a record whose lyrics I love, but it's like there's the lines that jump out, and then there's the lines that you just sort of that I just think of. I just replace, with whatever line I think I'm hearing. Yeah.
There's some really good ones. The Lies and Betrayals, Fruit Colored Nails,
it's amazing.
Electricity and Less. Like, that's really good. My wife says, like, that's so great. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I was doing, hun. Like, I'm glad it's good. It's maybe a Captain Beefheart reference when I say electricity, but other than that, I don't remember what I was doing.
And betrayals, fruit-covered nails, electricity and lust won't break the door. I've got a heavy coat, it's filled with rocks and sand, and if I lose it, I'll be coming back today. I'll be coming back today. I keep it in my head. I'm coming back one day. I've got a system, and I'll be coming back.
Well, this is what I was wondering. So, I think I've listened to it like 4 times the last 36 hours, and when I was on my run, I guess I and listening to it, I immediately thought of the thing that makes a band is how you're playing, how people relate to each other and they play off of each other, and and we touched on how you'd run things by Scott, but so now would be the right time to bring up Berman, because the thought that I had was like these lyrics are so, and I remember really at the time the lyrics jumped out, like they were smart in this really neat way, and when I look back on it now, I guess I was just wondering, was Steve was Steve trying to blow Berman's mind ever? Or like, were you thinking, were you thinking about David? Like this dick is going to hear these lyrics and he's going to hold me to task. And he's obviously really smart and he's had a big influence on me. And so I got to have to fucking hit him with this shit.
He hadn't done much yet. I think I was still like the older brother that was doing shit then. And he was doing his poetry, but I didn't necessarily think he was going to do music lyrics. But I would have been, like, we hung out in the Whitney and like we're writing stuff, and like I knew he was like super clever, and like I'd be looking for a vouch of anything I thought was good in my journal would be like, I would definitely think I would want him to like it or whatever.
Right,
That.
right.
But like, as far as the music goes, though, again, all of us were like, there was the Whitney Museum and some of the postmodern philosophies that were like in there in terms of art making,
Like
Richard Prince and some like less famous people. There was a lot of theory art, like Derrida and Baudrillard and these things, and then mixed with some also recent art, post-minimalist, which wasn't really about philosophy and semantics, but just that kind of art that were running there that made us think, and me think, like, you can do it. You can kind of spin anything. Sorry to be long-winded. You can like
this is
sort
great.
of a justification for anything you're doing. As long as you have like the kind of bullshit to back it up.
Right. Well,
like,
yeah.
It's anything's valid. You don't have to be like a really good. I mean, it's down to like being a really good singer, having like in tune or great technique or something. Like that's over with. Like that's already done. So it's time for something new. That kind of thing. That really was useful, and that was useful to go to New York and be in that environment.
Yeah, a thought that I had. Well, I'm definitely going to want to bounce back to Berman for a second, a little bit more about words. But a thought that I had also was like, and I remember at the time I was like, wait, they're called Pavement. There was something almost like last level, like dumb / smart about, it's like, really? Bands are calling themselves like Pavement, like what? But that sort of opened up a different way of thinking that I think kind of goes through to what you're talking about. It goes through these records, which is like when I was on my run, I was like, so is Pavement like the first sort of like post everything band? Are they sort of setting up the internet, in a weird way? Do you know what I mean? But but the idea that like the idea that lots more can fly within this indie rock thing, like a lot of stuff can fly. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff can happen, and also like, and Slanted and Enchanted definitely has this feeling of like. It's cool that you mentioned that you did mescaline. There is some sort of sense of like seeing things a new way. Even, I mean, the name Slanted and Enchanted is like, it's such a great title because it has this idea.
David made up that title. I was like, that's great. We're using that. Yeah. Thank you. I agree with you. Within a rock context, definitely. I mean, that's our thing. We are kind of within a context of, because we are just like rock fans. Like music's gone on farther to do obviously more things, queer music, disco, and like we don't really touch that, but within our like paradigm breaking, we are within like, because like I am, in the end, I'm a rock god, like worshiper of fucking Jimmy Page and the Stones, like at heart. Even with all this post shit, so that's where that's where we come from, is like fucking with those things. Classic rock ropes and everything.
Totally. I mean, because jumping back to Pure Platters, so you go to what's known as the coolest record store in Hoboken, and for listeners, for context, like the incredibly stylish and like smokingly good looking woman who worked there. Did the first Nirvana 7-inch, did the artwork for the first Nirvana 7-inch, just to give a context of like how fucking cool this place was. And so I go in there, I hear some trebly sounding weird shit on the on the stereo, and it's Tanya. I'm like, what is this? She goes, this is the best band. This is Pavement. They fucking rule. They're the fucking best. And I was like, and so immediately, because Tanya was cool,
you're like,
because
shit.
Yeah, I was like, fuck this shit, Yeah. But then I went to see you guys play at Maxwell's and talking about the rock stuff. I was like, fucking goddamn, like the guitar playing was ferocious, you know what I mean? And like it was really, it was such a like what really hit me was the guitar action and also the drum action. And it was, again, I was expecting, you know, I don't know, I was going to see the Unsane. I was going to see the Unsane. You know, all the bands, no bands could play well at the time, or if they did, that was the shtick, is that they played well. You know, like this was this thing where it's like, wait, these records sound one way, but live they really, like, it's crazy how good this is. You know,
it must have been one good show. That's nice.
It had to be. No, it really had to be. And I just another point.
We did have a couple good ones. We were very patchy though.
Yeah, no, I know. But this one fucking slayed, and then I was really unprepared for how good it was. I was like, fuck, god damn it. All right, you know, like reconfigure everything. And I'm walking out feeling really good about it, you know, and some fucking older guy says, huh, I didn't think it was possible that a band could just rip off The Fall, but here we go. like that's what this fucking guy said. And just like overhearing that, I was like, God, I hate older people. They're so fucking annoying. Like I don't, you know, I knew who The Fall was, but like I was like enjoying this moment of like, oh wow, you know, like I like good guitar playing. This is good guitar playing. This is like Dinosaur in that way, where this is fresh, but there's obviously there's this classic, or I mean, I don't even call it classic rock. There's this rock thing that's going on that's totally undeniable, and there's intent, and there's fire, and there's fucking, you know, like that, you know, that's this thing. And then I'm thinking all this stuff, and then this fucking guy's like, they just ripped off The Fall, you know? It's like,
we wouldn't really know completely how. We just had this very slight signifiers of them, like 2 songs. I would say, you know, he's right if you listen to the album on like. Yeah,
but no. I mean, yeah.
The rest are just influenced by them.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's great. Well, like, so what you're talking like 2 States?
Like 2 States, and well, New Face in Hell. Conduit for Sale is very similar to the song New Face in Hell. But that's all right, you know. It's like,
no, I mean,
the rest are just influenced. There's a couple more that are definitely influenced by them, but then it goes a lot of other places, luckily. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here talking about it, I don't think.
For sure. I mean, and also what was, I mean, it's funny because then it did, I immediately got into The Fall. After enjoying Pavement, because because I was like, oh, I see, there's a lot of stuff. But then, again, what came back to me was more like, oh, The Fall is such a great way of looking at the world, you know, just like Pavement's a great way of looking at the world, you know, but what specifically hit you with like what did you take from The Fall that, and you know,
the minimalism of the, first of all, like, you maybe don't necessarily need a chorus, like basically it can go
repetition.
Over and over.
Repetition, right.
And which the Pixies always did that too, but I started to think that you can just play the same chords and sing something over it differently. That can be the chorus. Before I would have been more like, it's got to be like Rock and Roll by the Velvet Underground, or everything's gonna have some parts. It's gonna go to a chorus, or the Beatles or something. So there was that, and then the jagged sounds of Angular, just generally Angular is okay, and it doesn't have to sound all fat. Some aesthetic things like that, like deep bass and everything, just flying.
And then what about
DIY recording is fine. And then the singing, some just like weird things you say repeated, and you play with the way you say it. You know, like how you say it is important as what you say sometimes. Although he says better things than me, but you know, he like is musical with his mouth in his way. So those were some things I was like,
with his mouth.
Yeah, exactly. But then also, what about the presentation of Pavement as far as a post fall thing, because that's struck me as being post fall.
Yeah, some of the artwork that I started with, like on Slanted Enchanted, and was definitely like fallish. I changed it, but it was just sort of like caught in your legs a little bit, like take it or leave it, a little bit cryptic
For sure. Yeah, like the falls,
you don't have to understand it, but it's like there's a whole world here that you might not get, but it's the world building, I guess you call it. They did that.
Sure.
Maybe unintentionally, but like we're English people, it's not as odd to them, maybe, but to us it is.
Well, and going back to like what they do, and sort of why Slanted and Enchanted is such a genius term, is this idea of looking again at things that actually Pavement, Slanted and Enchanted is so good, and it's so fall like in that it's like, look at that thing again. Look at this thing that you take totally for granted, and is sort of about the Pavement sort of applies that something's been done and gone over. And for some purpose that's kind of a bummer, and possibly, but then Pavement, Slanted and Enchanted in the same way that like the fall stuff is like, him making this fascinating world out of all this bleak shit, out of all this like harsh English reality, all of a sudden turns into this other thing. You know what I mean? That isn't necessarily joyful or fun, but it's just different. It makes you. It forces you. Yeah.
It's like serious, sort of just in the end. It's sort of like this is a little, you can take it as a joke, but it's a bit intense too. I mean, so like we're shy people. We're not like gonna proclaim we're like the heaviest band or anything, but because we're not that confident. But it's there. It's maybe you can take it like it's a game, or it's like intense, that's sort of what I was striving for too. Like in bands, I like bands like Can or The Fall. It's like, this is like intense. Their music is more intense because they're like better players. But like Can's a heavy band. It's like a dark band. It's heavier than like the Beatles or even the Stones or something. There's something like in the music that's a little bit like death or something, I don't know, at times.
They're definitely going somewhere. Yeah. Going somewhere beyond.
Well, it's also, I always thought of it as very mysterious too, like bands you couldn't really figure out. And, like, maybe I mean, people were a little confused about us from day one,
Well, dude, that's the biggest thing, but go ahead, because I want to talk about that. But go on, Scott, please.
No, I just think that adds to the whole kind of picture here where maybe a suburban kid in America hearing Slanted for the first time, they'd never heard The Fall, they'd never heard some of these bands, and they're like, well, this is different, and like, where's this coming from? And yeah, definitely added to it.
Did you have because
what's up with SM and Spiral Stairs?
Well, exactly.
Who names themselves that?
It was. I mean, I gotta say, because
I still get that now. I'm like, why did you call yourself Spiral Stairs?
Because it's fucking cool as shit. I thought what was interesting. I want to. Well, okay. Well, two things, Scott. Like, did you have the idea of did you have an audience in mind, and was it some kid in the suburbs that you just wanted to blow their fucking mind? What was that the case? I'm obviously because
with that name.
No, just with this record, with this band that I have, I wanted to land to some, like, what ears ultimately.
I don't think I thought of that. I just was thinking, as a 20. What were we, 24?
Stings you.
So
it was.
More peers,
was like
peers.
This is yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just wanted our friends to like it, and we were happy with that. And I definitely knew it was good.
Right.
Compared to kind of what else I was listening to. But I liked everything else was great too. But it was just like being part of it is you're like, man, this is cool.
I mean, like the thing that I've mentioned this to Steve, but I've Scott, I haven't talked to you in a while. Like, you guys do not get, and like, I'm not aware of a band that didn't have pictures or use of themselves or use their real names, out in a non-residency sort of way. You know what I mean? Like where, and that was a really big and exciting thing about Pavement. I mean, and particularly about this record is like, how the fuck did this record get hit so fucking hard when it came out with nobody knew what the fuck you look like or could attach, they couldn't even attach a Christian name or face to the thing. And and like, I thought that was incredibly powerful, and but it doesn't seem to be mentioned anymore. I don't know.
I know. People don't care anymore. Yeah, well, there's like the Swell Maps. They had cool names.
Right.
They had like Jowhead and Epic Soundtracks.
Right.
Spiral, I thought Spiral Stairs was a good name. I mean, I like Spiral Scratch record a lot. So I was like, he's Spiral Stairs.
Right.
I'm not answering that. Yeah, I think just went with it started with the cover art of the first record. So this was real, like, I just made up all this mumbo jumbo on there and just made it weird. I don't know what I was really trying to, a lot of some records I liked back then, like Faust,
okay,
So
right.
Far
Faust,
and stuff. It just had this black cover. You didn't know who these guys were. They were just like Faust. I didn't know what they looked like. And then Perubu, and I mean, I was just thinking of these artsy groups that were sort of like that. And
that's right. And Perubu with Crocus Behemoth and all that shit. Right.
I just like, we're suburban. We're from the Cleveland of California. This is fine. And I don't know how that happened. I mean, I think it was mainly, just.
Well, we didn't really think. We just thought that was going to be it.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's just
make it wasn't a plan to make it to rule the world. It was like, who cares what our names are anyway? And if it sucks, like, no one will know it was us.
Did that actually occur to you? What was that?
Bit. I had. I kind of am wishing that now, because I did this, like, this band Superorganism asked me to do like a semi-rap cameo on their new record, and I think I kind of like didn't nail it. Like a little, but they just like are fans. I'm just worried. What I mean? It's not my specialty. I wasn't doing it for money or anything, but I feel like I wish I could add a fake name now.
A rapper. Why don't you just get credited as use a Pavement name?
I know, right?
That would be good.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But and then that could be on the record, and then they could say whatever they want for their press, if they want to brag about having.
When we were all planning our careers in the White House or law in corporate law. We couldn't have those names.
Well, it's funny actually, kind of talking about this stuff, because I feel all that and there was something about that made it that much more powerful. It's like, okay, then there's this fucking record that everybody likes and nobody knows what they look like or what their real names are. And are people using the real names and showing what they look like? Are they corny? Like there is something
I
like,
know, right? Yeah.
Pavement hit like that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like when it came out and like
the New York scene, like definitely like Pussy Galore, and it was all like Image, 1,000%. They're like, who are these beautiful brown students that like
semiotics. Semiotics majors.
These beautiful rich kids that like sing like songs, anti-Semitic songs as a joke. you know,
about themselves, about themselves.
Right?
Yeah. Oh God, that's really interesting. In some ways, Pavement really is like an inside out pussy galore. Do you know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah. It's like this. It's very approachable music, but you can't see what they look like.
Right?
and neither band has a bass.
I went to see Pussy Galore in Davis, and I gave Neil the very first 7-inch.
Oh, you did?
No shit.
And he looked at me and he said, "I don't have a record player."
Yeah. That sounds about right.
So I was a little crushed.
Of course. That's like I mean, unfortunately, I mean, whatever. We're all old and we'll date ourselves, but I still think that it's unfortunate that kids cannot seem to have no context for which to understand what Royal Trucks meant, to people who gave a shit, because there is no comparison. I can't. No. I don't know I don't even know how to start to explaining, other than like, you knew damn well that these guys were cooler than you and better than you. And
they've offered every choice for us to like come on board. They've done reunions, they've got signed by Awesome for tons of money and reintroducing it, and it just doesn't.
It never lands. It doesn't funny.
Land. It's really surprising to me.
I feel like it's something within. I feel this way, and I'd say this with all due respect. It's some kind of thing that Neil Haggerty wants. He wants it to be this way. He just wants it to be this way. But again, but this is interesting, because this is another thing I was thinking about, is like, this fucking Slanted and Enchanted record is this kind of monumental record, and it gave you guys both you guys have managed to be able to live kind of like freaks for the rest of your lives, sort of artsy freaks. I mean, that's kind of
great. That was great.
When
crazy. It was done, I came back to Hoboken, I played it for Bob Nastanovich and David, and they were like, "You're set, dude. Get ready. People are gonna like you for a while." That kind of shit. And I was like,
That's
really?
amazing.
I was like, listen to it on a cassette. I'm like, this is it, huh? Okay, cool. And then I was still working at the art museum, and these people were coming to do meetings with me, like John, this loader guy from Southern that.
Sure.
And so we were trying to determine the English. Who was going to put it out, and maybe Matador. I think Matador already was.
Right.
So yeah, I remember that being like pretty cool. I'm like, I'm not going to have to work here, anymore. I don't think we're going to get to go on tour. I mean, it's all relatively small compared to like Nirvana coming in the future, but still huge.
I mean, huge. But again, but you're talking about that the records. No pictures, no real names, because maybe, take it or leave it, and maybe everybody will think it sucks. But then I could move on with my life. But the idea that's like, no, this, we're sitting here, we're not sitting here talking about it because of like some memory lane shit, and you did all this other stuff. It's like, your identities are still fairly wrapped up in this thing. Both of you guys, and both of you guys can go when you get your, whatever shit aligns in your lives, and go, play these songs, and people get fucking psyched. And it's like, that clearly was not the intention of that record, but I guess that's just like one of the cool things about making something really awesome, is that it lives, it gets this life of its own, know.
And the early times, even if it's like fucking Motley Crue or something, it's still kind of interesting, where it's Guided by Voices or Motley Crue, how the I'm actually not that interested in the Motley Crue, how it came out, but people are. You know, they like to show those pictures of them living in a shitty apartment and getting discovered. It's
like
still,
origin stories. Yeah.
Still, that's ours pretty much, you know, is that record. Yeah. So the other things that came were like different battles and aesthetic choices that based on that starting point for me, at least. So it was definitely when we were like, oh, we're going to go out in the world now and like people are going to see our faces. We're going to be jamming on that Reading stage.
I know. I always think about that. I mean, also like just historically, it's like, right. These fucking guys were playing. There was a sea of people. I actually, whenever I think of a big show, weirdly, whenever I think of a big show for like in the context of somebody like me or my peers playing it, it's that fucking show. It is always that show. It's that thing with the fucking audience, you know, like
doing that in England.
That must have been like what the fuck, you know? But like
very weird.
That had to be super weird, you know? I mean, like.
Well, it was like we were like L7 and Mudhoney. We were like bit players in the drama, but you know, we were getting there.
But there's something about Slanted and Enchanted that, again, this is my take for sure. But that and the Nirvana record were somehow this thing, you know, like the Nevermind record, and like. Was Slanted and Enchanted like Nevermind for snob bitches? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, right? You know,
we had I definitely had a little like, you know, they knew about us and were kind of wary a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Because Kurt Cobain was definitely, and Courtney were savvy to like, you know, they got Kim Gordon to produce their album or whatever, and and like shit about Gerard Cosley. So like they knew about it,
right?
Wanted to, you know, be part of, accepted that way too. I'm sure you want your cake and eat it too. But it was interesting how there was this sort of like, okay, Nirvana is loud and they're mad about stuff and they're, you know, and they're on drugs. And and this is like resonating. This is like resonating to the world. And then, but weirdly, Pavement is also like really out of control, resonating, but not on those, not touching on those points. You know, like in that way. Yeah, we were more the sound of young Williamsburg. You know,
I mean,
the very start of that, just a more New York sound. I mean, I make fun of Williamsburg now or whatever, but you know, it was cool then. And
well, I mean, well, you were the Williamsburg, the pre-Williamsburg, you know, because Jersey City was such a vibe, you know what I mean? Like, and Williamsburg used to be, you know, just to give context, like around that time of Slanted and Enchanted, I moved to Williamsburg, and I got 0.0 visitors in the entire year that I lived there. I lived at the fucking foot of the Williamsburg Bridge, like on the same block as Peter Luger, right there, and no one. And I was like running around in Manhattan. I was hanging out Max Fish every night. No one would ever fucking visit. No one would visit.
Scary. Maybe they would go to Domsey's or something.
Maybe. You know, like, but fuck that. But that's you would take the L. You know, but that's a different vibe. Like the JMZ, the fucking sketch. Like so gnar. You know, like. But again, so there was this. It's just kind of across the bridge. You know, like and Pavement definitely had that sort of like. Across the bridge, you know, vibe, you know, but which is funny because you immediately became right to the center, which I guess is always what happens, you know what I mean? But it's like you went from being the outsider across the bridge to being this thing that there's like, well, Pavement is it. It's like, well, but Pavement's about not being it, you know, like, which had to be weird.
Well. It's weird in material terms, just when you're playing like Roseland or something. I mean, that's like really hard to do when you're like not that good and haven't played many shows. It's, you know, but people like you just for who you are, you know that, but you also hear that sound coming out of your amp and you know,
right.
it's like not like the other, you know, some like Sonic Youth or something. They built their sound over like gigging for 4 albums, and you're just kind of
For
like
sure.
thrown out there.
And also,
Yeah,
but what's interesting for sure, but there's also like, so again, this must have been strange. And I'm thinking about this now, which is that, okay, you're playing fucking, everything blows up and you're like this big band, but you're not prepared for it. But unlike other things, examples, people are showing up to see a lot of these other bands because of what they look like or what they've read about them or something to do with a cult of personality, a little bit, you know, because it's rock music. There has to be that kind of an image that people are buying into. You guys did not have that. People were showing up to hear the songs from this record that they've been obsessed with. You know what I mean? And that's really different, you know, like that's a different headspace. So I can imagine that just had to be strange.
We drank a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone did back then, but we drank a lot.
I know, God, 90s was drinking was huge. I remember seeing you at Roseland and be like, how's it going? You know, because I couldn't believe you're playing Roseland. You're like, I've been smoking a lot of weed.
Yeah. Both of those things. It was stressful. I'm still, you know, but now we have another tour, Matt, that's coming up with some even bigger shows. So,
well,
like,
I know
now we're old and we can handle it. At least I can.
Right.
I think.
Right. I mean,
just, you know, when your dreams come true like that, it's quite scary. The original times. I mean, you know, I'm sure it doesn't even matter if you were playing First Avenue in Minneapolis and like
for sure
somebody's there that you think is like you really think is the greatest musician or something. You're like shitting your pants.
Totally. No, and also, I mean, obviously, because you're young, your imagination is wild, but still limited to what you know. And when you knock it the fuck out of the park, and the world says that it's great, and you're that age, like, what the fuck do you do? You know, like, and it's still like, what's funny for me is that my bands were always like, you know, they were just smaller and they weren't like earth shaking and stuff like that. And even Chavez was sort of, I think a lot of the lyrical concerns and point of view was this with that band. The Chavez thing was like, well, there's all these other bands that are huge and we're not. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
not in a bitter way, not all in a bitter way, but just like, huh. You know, like all right, so we're doing it for some other weird reason, you know,
yeah, you didn't feel that strain, but there's a different kind of strain.
Yeah, but also, but it's funny because, you know, like at the time, like me and Clay really liked Pavement, but when I listened to it, I'm like, God, we like, there was such, I guess there was a lot more sophistication going on, specifically on Slanted and Enchanted, that I feel like I could have ripped off a little better or something like that. Or like I could have stolen some more shit. Like I was like, damn it, I should. Because again,
you could also have just like been pissed off at us, and like a lot of bands probably were too. I accept that.
Nobody ever caught that Unreal is Here is a take on Here by Pavement, because there's that. But well, I mean, I kind of did, but kind of didn't. And when I was listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, because there's that, the way that Here revolves around that one single note, you know, like the chords keep on, and Unreal is Here does the same exact fucking thing. But like where it's like the one resolved.
I'm gonna go listen to it.
Yeah, check it out. You'll see. Like what I was like, oh, whoa, we did, and I was like, oh, it's even called Unreal is Here, which is kind of funny. But there really is this like such cool high level playing done in a way that's cool.
I was dressed for success, but success it never comes, and I'm the only one who laughs at your jokes when they are so bad, and your jokes are all
good, you know. And it's like, I was curious, Steve, were you into the groundhogs at this point?
No, not
It's
yet.
funny.
That wasn't even
It's funny.
until later, but I don't
It's so
think
up your alley. It's really
I
up your
know.
that band was like meant for you, because it sounds, you could hear Pavement, you could hear Slanted and Enchanted and think, and then hear Groundhogs and be like, oh yeah, I can see how this guy like that.
I mean, I'm trying to
You know.
think. I would have been doing jagged fall things, and there were some My Bloody Valentine's first album kind of wah 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 wah. Not the one that made them famous.
Right. Isn't anything.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I like how shitty that album sounded.
Yeah.
Stuff like, and some of the bent notes on that. I mean, I don't know where. I mean, Sonic Youth, a lot of the one line just going up with two notes the same. It's kind of
There's
like
I always thought
Death
I
Valley
always thought some of
69
the
type near
yeah,
or something,
true.
just that kind of thing. I remember I did that, but and a little bit of the New Zealand music, Verlaine's and the Clean.
Oh yeah.
I was into that.
That tracks. That definitely tracks. Scott, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I used to always think it was we sounded like Buffalo Tom.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Which
so.
I loved. I loved them, but it had that kind of like those that they're kind of like jangly songs.
Sunflower Suit. I know that song.
Some of those songs on
That was a little bit of the
Slanted are
dinosaur.
just-
Like, when's the dinosaur album
Maybe.
coming out? There's a Buffalo Tom one. I know what you
They're
mean.
not, yeah, Buffalo Tom is always in the shadow. That's funny, actually. There's a Chavez song that I really liked, and everyone's like, "Oh, that sounds like a Buffalo Tom song." I was like, "What? What the fuck?" There's some riff.
Sunflower Suit.
Bird Brain.
Oh, Bird Brain. I know that one too.
Yeah. That song's big.
That guy Bill Janovitz is cool.
He's nice, I think.
Yeah, he's a Stones fanatic, and I think that he's written some really interesting Stones kind of like, just like, I think maybe 33 to 30 may have written a book. Yeah. I've recently read some stuff by him. I was like, this guy can write his ass off, and he's qualified, because he writes about it.
Yeah.
I've seen him on social media saying clever things. Like,
he's cool.
Where he wasn't trying to be too cool type thing, like a fan.
Yeah.
So I always like people like that.
No, he's a good one for sure. Well, I was gonna ask, because you mentioned this, and to me, as far as because I'm not particularly a gear guy, but I think it is important for those people who are. What the fuck was going on with how Slanted and Enchanted was recorded? It's recorded, I take it, on what kind of tape machine?
16-track 1-inch. With a board, I can't remember the name of the board, but it was a cool board that Gary got from his brother. It was sort of vintage. The most interesting things are that the it was tuned for like some hard rock band that had just been in there, like the day before us, like a metal band or something. Gary, like the drums and whatever, everything was EQ'd. So maybe there was like one of those old-fashioned death metal sort of all highs and like scooped middle, like the whole thing. That
the Scott Burns, the earache sound. Yeah.
For better or worse, that Morbid Angel, like Miami metal sound might have had
Scott
an
Burns.
effect. Yeah.
I did not expect to be giving Scott Burns a shout out, but he's the guy who made all those records.
He was using that settings, and then we just were like, Steve Albini said like no reverb,
right.
So there's going to be no reverb on anything, and I didn't know what compression was yet. So if there was compression, that was just Gary doing it,
right.
I didn't know how that worked. But
there is reverb on one
song.
Yeah, you're on the guitar, and it sounds really
here,
cool.
There's reverb on the drums too. There might be some guitar solos with reverb, but I'm saying not on the drums. Not on the drums, except on one song, and not on the vocals.
What kind of guitars were you using?
my same Stratocaster with 5 strings because it was and a Steinberger, which
That's the best.
Yeah, Steinberger bass and guitar because his dad developed the molds for them. I mentioned that to you before. He's like in plastics. He had also built the World Trade Center antennas on the top. Like he was involved in that. And so he got free Steinbergers. And Gary used to like to throw them around like in his mock heavy metal band called Death's Ugly Head. So they would play and he let the other guys use them. And they do like covers of metal songs in a punk way. And they'd dress up kind of Rocky Horror style. And they'd throw their instruments like on the ground, like from the stage onto the concrete. And those don't break.
No, or go out of tune.
Yeah, and so it did have a tiny chip, though. The bass did have a little tiny chip, so it's not entirely true. But that's through like complete abuse of the. So we thought it was funny to use them.
I can't believe it.
Yes.
Yeah, the bass sounds.
That's right,
So
Steinberger.
it actually is for that My Bloody Valentine, like on the song Perfume V. I'm like wow 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 wow. It works. That guitar really works well for that. Those Steinbergers, there's real even whammy.
Yeah.
And the bass that we use on the one track is the bass sound of the Steinberger on Slanted and Enchanted.
That is so fucking cool. I love that. I mean,
yeah.
Scott, you never told me about the Steinberger shit. That's really fucked up that you never told me that. I gotta say.
Oh,
You never.
sorry.
Yeah.
But like
Scott had like
We
his,
used
he
it.
had his little Mustang, I think, and
right.
right.
Well,
What did you play the bass?
I think
on?
I had-
bass guitar. Did you play?
I think it was either out of the Mustang or out of I think I had that Telly as well, that yellow Telly.
Right. That's probably the bass sound
but
usually, unless I'm doing
That's
it.
probably the bass.
Well, look,
Give me a strap.
I'm moving back to the Steinberger vibe because that's, to me, there's something about, Pavement is like, I think of it as like, Stratocasters and somehow, kind of broken old whatever things. And then when I found out that it was the fucking Steinberger sound.
Totally. It's on like 40% of the songs.
That's
The
incredible.
pedals, there's this orange distortion pedal that's made by Boss or something. I don't know. But all I know is that if you press down on it, I thought it was really cool. If you press down on it, it went to a feedback sound, like the same note always, though, but it would go like, and I just thought that was really cool. It's on like one of those songs. It doesn't matter, like that. I'm like, one of those songs. But it so I used that. And Scott had this really crappy Fender amp. Remember that one?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that
with like
was
red knobs.
Yeah.
And then I had an Epiphone amp that was
sounded
actually pretty
terrible.
fucking nice that I got from this guy in town, and I got it sent to New York, and it never made it. Like someone either stole it off my stoop. It's like an Epiphone ER8 something. That's basically it. I don't think we had any other. Oh, I had a Rat.
Didn't you have the what was your
Microsynth.
Yeah.
percent?
Yeah, that was
Okay,
Gary's.
Oh, you talked.
Gary, that's used on like
that was
No
Gary's.
Life
Yep.
Cincher and Flamethrower, and it's original Electro-Harmonix microsynths. They sound a lot better than the second generation of those too. Pedal.
And that's a guitar pedal, yeah. And so what's doing the I've got one only life to live. The
That's me on keyboards. That's a DX7.
Yeah.
Like we use a lot of DX7. Gary,
That's right.
I thought they were like supposed to be really uncool or something. So I used them.
Okay.
But like now people sort of like them almost, or
they are. Yeah. No, they're considered vintage gear. But so okay. So
a lot
to be
of
clear,
DX7. That's all through a distortion pedal.
Okay, all right. And was that a deliberate move? Were you aware of the? Were you sort of laughing, but like I'm gonna, or not laughing, but just like I'm gonna use this DX7 because this is the most uncool thing to use in or in the 90s, and also was the Steinberger
also used some really like rickety psychedelic keyboards, but like that's
janky,
all I had. Yeah. But I was like, I can use that.
Through a rap pedal.
Weed during overdubs. I smoke weed. I never smoke weed singing vocals or doing takes. But like,
were you smoking? Did you smoke weed?
Yeah,
was there weed?
Keyboard overdub and mixing.
Well, Gary sold weed, so he it was always around.
Yeah. So Pavement, Pavement, Slanted and Enchanted. There was weed involved.
Yes, on the overdubs.
On overdubs.
And those keyboard things, I know because like I can hear it when I'm doing that. I got one holy light. When I know I'm stoned because like I wouldn't make up something like that.
But like what? But there's that weird little keyboard line, which is such a cool line. It happens twice, or it happens exactly the same way. So that's a part, right? Because it's funny. I used to think of this. Yeah.
That's like a preset. It has to be. I'm not playing that many notes. It must be a preset that goes.
Okay, I got it. Right, because it sounds like a sample. That's what I was going to say. Because it runs like a sample, like because it happens over and over again.
Somehow just messing around with presets and distortion pedal.
So what do you do? What are you going to do live when I'm sitting there waiting for that part to happen?
We have a keyboard player.
Who's playing?
Rebecca.
Oh, great.
I forget her last name.
Cool.
She's in Wild
Cole.
Flag and the.
Oh, cool.
She's from Portland. She's really good at piano.
Minders.
She's going to play like those parts.
Great.
And if we do that song,
get a DX7. Come on.
I know. She
working into the budget.
I mean, we tried to play some of these songs without Gary. They're pretty hard, like Fame Thrower and some of those old ones, because he just plays faster than, and also we're older now. Steve's naturally a slow player with a deep groove. I like what he does, but it's not his style. Like Jake wouldn't be able to play it really either. You know, a lot of people can't.
No, he's really. He's phenomenal. I mean, it's again. There was again. It's that lightning in a bottle thing where it's like, okay, we have the weird older guy playing too many notes. It's like no, this is actually like it's so fucking rocking and precise in this neat way, which is the magic of records. Because I'm sure it didn't feel that way at the time.
No, it all holds together though. If I'm playing, I mean, if you have someone playing like. The same person playing 3 of the 5 parts, it's usually me. It can also sound more together. You know what I mean? Like,
right, for sure, of course. Yeah.
You can kind of blend all the outer parts with the 3 of the one person, and then it also obviously sounding a little out of time is a great thing.
Yes, they call that the rub.
Yeah.
What? Steve, you had some really funny stories about misadventures in Europe. And did any of that play into any of these lyrics? Because for some reason, in my mind, there's something about Slanted and Enchanted there that I think I mentioned before, just this idea of like you're seeing things for the first time. You're young and you're kind of excited about things and you're flipping things around in your mind and stuff. Did any of your Europe travels or misadventures have anything to do with your feeling for writing?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I mean, there's a song about Zurich and stuff.
Right.
I would have just been thinking of it being sort of an icy financial capital, and
I see.
Not anything. I couldn't even afford to travel there, probably. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would have had to be like Syria stained or Egypt, because like that's where you could live for $5 a day.
Right.
Not much. I think it's hard to say I got back. I mean, I would have been more just in the art gallery, talking to Berman,
New York,
writing down shit, trying to be cool, you know, like what's going to be cool.
So it's very New York.
Who
So
is
it
this
is.
guy? It's going to be that's going to like not be an idiot singing.
It's New. But it's a New York record. I mean, like
Pretty
Slanted.
much, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we do it in stock. There's always going to be the Valley. We did one after that called Watery Domestic, where I really like tried to hone in on some Stockton like Valley feels with the lyrics. But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that Stockton chip on your shoulder. Like it's really, you know, it's nice to not be from like LA or I mean, obviously someone from Compton is going to say they're going to disagree or something, but we like Stockton, we are the Murder Valley. We're like, we're gritty. And of course I'm like a bougie dude or whatever, but like, at least I'm from Stockton, you know, it's like I can compared to like real Stockton, you know, I'm like I play tennis and could afford a piano lesson or something. So like, I'm not like some tough guy, but you know, still, I know what it feels like there. And I think it can rub off like recording in Gary's shitty suburban studio and smoking like dirt weed and shitty beer. It rubs off on the record.
I've been waiting, anticipating. The sun comes up, the skies won't sink my soul. I've dreamt of this, but it never comes. But it never comes. On the horizon, the nature's dry.
Well, let me see if I have anything else in my notes that we need to. Oh yeah, why did you call a song "Our Singer"?
That's a good question. Let me see. There is a reason. Our Singer. Must be another song, but I can't remember what it is right now. I have to get back to you on that. I mean, I was trying to, you know, it's a little bit a last moment song. The tape runs out.
Right.
Me and the drummer, and it has a little bit of a hint of Hip Priest. The fall.
Yes. Yeah.
But,
For sure.
You know, it's happier and not happier. It's a little more melodic.
It's not as spooky. It's not as like dark and terrifying as it
was like crank out one more song. And I like that feeling. The reason I kept it was it's sort of, you know, just throwing one last song off on the end.
Yeah, it's like it's
minimal, not much, just a guitarist and a singer. Maybe that's why.
And then was there who did you have in mind for Loretta's Scars? Was there a Loretta?
No, that would have been, you know, like the Velvets. It's always like somebody's name.
Yeah.
I really, you know, like I'm also one of these people that the album VU was actually very important. The for the 80s. Same. That came out and I was like learning those songs. Those were just as big to me as, well, they weren't as big as the first album, but they were bigger than the third. You know, like the third was, I didn't really know that album as well back then.
I couldn't find any other fucking.
Or not the third, the fourth. The fourth one, I mean. Loaded. I wasn't really into that in the 80s.
Well, like I just couldn't find any Velvets records, and then VU and another VU came out, and those were the easiest ones to get. So I like VU was the first thing that I heard by then. You know, like
same here. And I was like, that's what I was learning. I was like, there's lots of songs with like girls' names, and That's what you
Yeah.
got to do. And I know he had Candy Says before and others, but like I was just like, oh, that's Lisa, Candy, Loretta.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, got you. Is She's My Best Friend on VU?
Yes.
Or is on another?
I was really into that song.
Dude, that is the best fucking song. What I request that Pavement cover that song for this tour.
I know the chords. I learned all those songs. Like
I learned
with a guitar.
I'll send you. I just did it. I actually learned it and did it for this thing to raise money for Anthology Film Archive.
That's a great song to cover.
Yeah, and I realized that it's about Lou Reed's sister, because
I didn't know
all of his really he has a couple of rad songs that I'm certain are about his sister, like Little Sister, you know.
Yeah.
But like, but if you listen to She's My Best Friend, think about it from it's his sister, that he's talking about his sister, and it makes it, it makes an amazing song even better. Yeah, it's really cool. It's like
when he says like electricity comes from other planets.
Oh, the best.
I'm just like so into
huge,
that,
massive. Yeah,
and they're fucking around. They're all like doo, 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 just having a good time. I was like, I want to have that good time feel on some song without it being artificial.
Right? Is that where the Pavement juice come from?
Yeah, some dude.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's a big album to me.
It's huge.
I don't talk about it much because I forgot too, because so many other things come in your life, but certain things are like there when you're like 19 to 21, and they are important.
Well, man, I'm psyched to see you guys, and I'm glad we got to do this.
Likewise.
Big love to you, and I'll see you guys when see you. Hell yeah, good seeing you. I'll see y'all soon.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Trizzy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I can't seem to leave. Oh, wait. No, I'm here and I'm still trying to leave. Okay.